What's up, Titans fans? It's your boy CD back again with another episode of TitanUp 2day. On today's show, we'll recap Week 2's matchup between us and the Jacksonville Jaguars as we go 2-0, beating the Jaguars 33-30. And also, I give you the AFC South picture now that Week 2's accomplished. But no need to delay. Let's get right down to it. Waking up this morning, I tell you, it is amazing to feel 2-0. 2-0 feels so good, so special. A lot of teams out there don't get to feel that. We get to feel that as fans because our Tennessee Titans have now beat the Denver Broncos in week 1 on the road in a sloppy game, but we found a way to win that game. And then week 2, just a couple days ago, we beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home in a barn burner shootout type game, 33-30. We're not expecting that kind of victory at all. And actually started off really fast, looking as if we were going to blow them out, as we've done for the past 5 years every single time we play them. But it was not that way. Gardner Minshew and his crew on offense of nothing but young studs found a way to give us a problem. Now, I said it in the recap, and I said it in the past. He only missed one completion when he played last week or the week before last against the Colts. This week was a little bit different, but at times his accuracy is pinpoint, scary pinpoint. That touchdown he threw to Chris Thompson and running back on that fade route was perfect. He couldn't drop the ball if he wanted to. Jayon Brown plays perfect defense and still gives up the touchdown. But just as well as he did well and a lot of pinpoint accurate moments, he did show flashes of just being a younger quarterback, and his stats didn't lie about that. So real quick, as you see, he was 78 QBR, his rating, quarterback rating was 78, 30 for 45 overall with 66% pass completions, 7.53 yards per average, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Those 2 interceptions, one of them was the game-winning interception with Harold Landry, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but Harold Landry came up with the big play, and the other one was Christian Fulton comes up with his interception, his first interception. I had the bold prediction for week 1. He was supposed to do that then, shows up 1 week later and gets his interception, his first rookie interception for him. Congratulations again. James Robinson, their running back, was not expecting that. He had a kind of quiet game the week prior with like 16 carries and had just over 90 yards, which you say, not 90 yards, yeah, like 60 something yards, but you say it's decent. You know, he's not a drafted running back, rookie, so you get what you get. They got rid of Fournette, but I think there's a reason behind that. This guy ran, and there was a couple runs. He had one that was 39 yards, I believe, was his breakout run. But a lot of other runs, he just ran tough, and he's quick and fast. But James Robinson, 16 carries, 102 yards, and he did have that touchdown. But he averaged 6.4 yards on the ground. The offense for the Jaguars, again, surprising. Keelan Cole, 6 receptions for 58 yards, 9.7 yard average, 1 touchdown on 7 targets. Now, 1 touchdown when Gardner Minshew rolled out to the right, it looked like he was going to run, and he had like 3 or 4 options out there. We played defense not to snuff, what I'll say, reference being patient, and he slipped away and got the touchdown in the back, a real easy touchdown in the back. Like I said, if we give it to him, he will take it. He took it on that play. DJ Chark, we saw him last year coming out. He's an athletic talent. 4 catches, 84 yards, averaging 21 yards per carry. He only had 4 targets, and he caught all of them. And the one that was a deep ball down into double coverage, and he just jumped out and just grabbed everybody. But that's them. Don't want to show too much love to the Jags, but they did play extremely well on offense. But our team, we play well as well, I would say. Ryan Tannehill is coming out the gates, firing that cannon of an arm, 18 for 24, 239 yards, 4 touchdowns, which is a career high, and still 0 interceptions to date. He is cruising at this point. That was without A.J. Brown as well. Now, the running game, still trying to get its traction. I don't know if it's the O-line. There's not as many holes Derrick Henry, and obviously he's the best running back in the game. That's undoubtable, no doubt at all. But at times he runs almost like soft coming into the hole, and I'm hoping that that changes over time. He can get more explosive. I know that it takes him a couple steps to get going, but whenever people are at his feet, he's not able to do anything, and his stat line shows exactly that. 25 carries, 85 yards, 3.4 yard carry average, which is less than what he did last week. Still no touchdowns, 0 touchdowns on the ground for Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill did run for four times for 12 yards. Cameron Batson got to see the rushing stats as well. Jumped on the field, 1 carry, 11 yards. Sonoris Perry, we heard about him in camp. Vrabel loves the guy. Waiting for him to show. He shows up, 2 carries, 9 yards, which a 4.5 yard clip. So I will say this, just watching those 2 carries, usually you have a backup running back comes in. Derrick Henry is on the sideline catching his breath. The backup running back is just going to pass block for a little bit, let Ryan Tannehill throw the ball. Maybe even throw a screen to him, maybe, but more than likely not. He comes in for 2 plays and runs the ball 2 times, and decent runs. It shows here 9 yards, right? It wasn't like he had 9 yards on 1 carry and then got stuffed at the line the next. It was legit 4.5 yards, 4.5 yards, and then he went off the field. And then the very next play, Derrick Henry came in and lost 4.5 yards. It was interesting, to say the least. But obviously when Henry's on the field, you have to respect him, so they're probably running rush blitzing to stop the run. But on that drive, I think we ran the ball 6 or 8 times in a row before we scored. But the last guy in the rushing category, Jeremy McNichols, 2 rushes, 7 yards, no touchdowns, obviously, 3.5 yards on the average. This is the same guy the week prior that caught a ball real quick, lost his helmet, and still was trying to run. I don't know why he did it. I was mad. He was in the game for sure. Wide receivers and our receiving stats, not so much wide receivers, but our receiving statistics. In the box score, Adam Humphries makes his way with the most receptions for the team, 5 receptions, 48 yards, averaging 9.6 yards per catch, 1 touchdown, and that was 6 targets for him. He's the most targeted wide receiver of the day. No A.J. Brown, no problem. Jonnu Smith, first play of the game, breaks off like a 60-yard reception down the left sideline. He ended up being the #1 target on that drive in the game. 4 receptions, 84 yards, averaging 21 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns off of 5 targets. He balled. It was his coming out day. Still like to see more targets, more catches from Jonnu. Had him in the backfield as well on that big play that Miles Jack broke up on that final drive as we were trying to move forward. There was a screen that was about to happen that could have been really deadly for the Jaguars. But anyways, continuing on in the box score, Anthony Fertzker, 4 catches, 45 yards, 4 targets. Corey Davis, a little bit of a quiet game. He did get that touchdown, and his route running skills showed. So high level of the route run, got open, a little delayed on the ball getting there, but when it did get there, he hauled it in. On the day, 3 receptions, 36 yards, 1 touchdown on 5 targets. Cameron Batson, not only did he carry the ball, he came in, he had a couple clutch catches, one of them for a big 3rd down conversion. He had 2 catches, 26 yards on those 2 targets. Proud of you guys, man. Proud of the offense for stepping up. The defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars, they did have a couple studs step out. We obviously know about Miles Jack. We'll discuss that pass interference call at the end. I think it was tight, but definitely we'll go into that later on. So we got Miles Jack, 11 tackles, 6 of them for solos, a half of a tackle for a loss. Never seen that before, but half a tackle for a loss, 1 pass deflection, and it was not the final one because that was a PI. Kaylavon Chason, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit for him, and that was the only sack that Ryan Tannehill had to take. On our defense, on the other hand, Kenny Vaccaro, this was his game. He was all over the field. He was our safety of the game by far, all over the field. 11 tackles, 10 solos, 1 tackle for a loss, 2 pass deflections, and a sack. And it seemed like every time that the running back was about to get taken down in the backfield, it was because Kenny was right there on him. Another one of our DBs that had a game, Malcolm Butler, 11 tackles, 8 of them solos, and 2 pass deflections. I don't know if you saw the one in man coverage on the top of your screen. They run a slant drag route that's guaranteed touchdown on most cornerbacks. He just ran, stayed with them, and diving pass deflection on the right side of the field to break up the touchdown. Big defensive play by Malcolm Butler on this week's game. Christian Fulton, again, 3 tackles, 3 solos, 1 pass deflection, 1 pass defended, and 1 interception. Ran it back for 40-plus yards. I thought for a moment he actually was going to take it back to the house. I was cheering. You probably could have heard me all the way down the street for the Christian Fulton to come through. Adoree Jackson being down, him stepping up. I see something. I see the future. I see something big for us in the defensive secondary. I cannot wait for him to continue to grow. But week 2 was definitely a little coming out party for him. Congratulations, young man, on your first pick. Now, not so much a young man. Harold Landry was a grown man. He was all over the field the whole entire day, and he was rewarded at the end with that interception. But his stat line, 5 tackles, 2 solos, 1 quarterback hit, and that interception to clinch the ball game. Huge day for Harold Landry. Keep doing your good work. Now, the free agent, one of our first signings, Jack Crawford, the big man running down Gardner Minshew in the fourth quarter. Huge sack. His stat line, 1 tackle, 1 solo, 1 quarterback hit, 1 tackle for a loss. All of those happened because of 1 sack. But that 1 sack was extremely important. I think they lost 20-something yards. But it's not just an individual game, right? Individual stats are nice, but it's a team game. So what do the team stats look like? Because the Jacksonville Jaguars obviously put up some numbers individually. As a team, 3rd downs, they converted 71%. That's a lot. 1 of 1 on 4th down. They ran 74 plays on us. Last week, we ran 78 plays on the Broncos and tired out their defense. You can see down the stretch. Their 74 plays they ran on us tired out our defense. You can see down the stretch as well. 480 total yards, 4 for 5 in the red zone. That -2 turnover diff was huge, as they had 2 turnovers to our 0. And the time of possession was 33 minutes and 22 seconds. Now, in the box score, as I sat there and stared at it, it was hard to read because they literally dominated all categories except for 2. Those 2 categories turned out to be extremely important and the reason why they lost. Tennessee Titans stat line looks like this as a team. We were 64% on 3rd down, which is still strong, but not as strong as 71%, where we could not get the Jags off the field. We only ran 59 plays and a total offense, a total yards of 354. We were perfect in the red zone, scoring 4 times out of 4 attempts. We had those 2 turnovers, big interceptions by Fulton and Harold Landry that sealed the game. Our time of possession was only 26 minutes and 38 seconds. But those 2 stat categories, turnovers, that was it. That was a difference maker. And also finishing every single time we were in the red zone, that was a difference maker. If the Jags finish every time they're in the red zone, went 5 for 5, they win this game by 1 point or more. So, I'm sorry, they tie the game to send it to overtime, or they win it outright. And obviously, they didn't even make their extra point as well after we had missed our extra point. So, it was a little bit of miscues for them, but those 2 stats are the reason why they take the L this week, and we get the dub and the division lead as well. So, as I told you guys pregame, the 3 things: finish drives, defense of pass defense, staying strong and playing disciplined pass defense, and then lastly, win the turnover battle. I would say we won 2 out of those 3. We did what we were supposed to do. We definitely finished every single drive. Obviously 4 for 4 in the red zone, which is phenomenal. But the other side of it is, even whenever we stalled on our side, Brett Kern put them inside the 20 every single time he punted the ball. There was never a return that brought them back outside the 20, so they always started down, pinned down on their side of the field. But at the same time, we had our defense giving up a lot late down the stretch. Our defense played very soft, I would say, down the stretch. When we're up by 14 points. We can't even come close to losing, I don't think, but it was close. Nonetheless, the turnover battle, we won. 2-0 is great. At this point in time, no turnovers on the season after 2 games. That is amazing. We're doing good. And with week 2 now concluded, all games played, our game locked in, and we're 2-0, perfect on the season. Let's see where the AFC is, and let's look at our division and how we look at this point in time. As you can see here, this is the AFC standings after week 2. Pretty simple. The Titans at this moment are 3rd overall. If we were to end today, which we don't, we'd be the 3rd seed, but we still have 14 more games to play. I like where we're at. It's a good start. Let's keep pressing on. But the easiest way to the playoffs is actually to win the division. So what's the division look like? The AFC South looks as this. The standings right now, Tennessee Titans leading the way on our own, solo at the top, 2-0, 1-0 again in the division. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-1 overall with the 1-1 division record, as both their games have been against the Colts as well as the Texans, and they 1-1, lost 1. The Colts, on the other hand, 1-1 and lost to the Jags. They are 0-1 in the division. That will hurt them down the stretch. And the Texans are 0-2 after 2 weeks, bringing up the rear in the AFC South. The division record shows 0-0 because they haven't played anyone yet. Well, they've played some people, just haven't played anyone in the division. The 2 teams that they've played were the #1 seed last year in the playoffs and the Super Bowl champions of last year's NFL season. So they've played a couple good teams to start. So not to beat up on them too much, but right now in the standings, we have a 2-game head start. But let's go ahead and jump in. We'll talk about the Texans first. Right now, the Texans, after week 1, they lost to the Chiefs 20-34. This week, after week 2, the Ravens beat them at home 33-16. The schedule looks as is. They get the Steelers up next. This week, they'll be on the road. Then they have the Vikings and beyond. They do get the Titans in week 6, and we will be ready. Big division game, of course. On to the Colts. The Colts, after week 1 losing to the Jags 20-27, week 2 they come back against a Vikings team that looked miserable. I thought the Vikings would go in to Indianapolis and start to beat them down, but they did not. The Vikings lost that game. The Colts win 28-11. Week 3, the Colts get the Jets at home, followed by a Bears team on the road that is 2-0, surprisingly, but have won against 2 very, very weak teams, and then so on. They do have a bye in week 7, so the Titans on the docket later on in the season for the Colts. The Jacksonville Jaguars start off surprisingly well, to say the least. Week 1, they played the Colts. They won 20-27, but week 2, they ran against the AFC South leading Tennessee Titans, and they did take that loss. The Jags lose 30-33. The Tennessee Titans move forward on their own in the lead of the division, while the Jaguars fall to 1-1. Week 3, they look to take on the Miami Dolphins. They get to play at home in a later game on Thursday Night Football. Expect a good game there, and I think the Jaguars have an opportunity to come back, bounce back, and be 2-1, but we'll see. And finally, our Tennessee Titans, week 1, pushed through against the Broncos 16-14, a sloppy game, but ended with a Gostkowski field goal to win it. On the other hand, week 2, a shootout, totally different game. Jaguars lose 30-33 to the Titans, as we needed that win to take the sole possession of the AFC South. Week 3 coming up now, we play at the Vikings in a scary game to me. The Vikings losing the way they lost to the Colts, I think that they will be coming back with a vengeance, trying to beat up on our Titans. Now, we're on the road. It should be an interesting game, and we'll preview this game moving forward in the week. I think we're going to be in for a battle. The 2 ways we won these last games were kind of sloppy. If we do that again, we will take a loss. All right, so now we have the AFC South picture after week 2. I do want to conclude this wrap-up by talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars, Tennessee Titans. There was a couple plays. One individual, Tony Brooks, my boy, beat him in Madden all the time. Have an opportunity to talk to him right now on YouTube, on this channel. I want to let you know that I get it. I understand that you're upset about the loss. There were a couple penalties that were called that should have been called. I would say that's on both sides of the ball and both teams. It's just football. The Miles Jack PI, it was tight. I'll give you a little rundown. You can see it for yourself one more time in slow motion. And I want to talk about that offsides penalty that you discussed too. Some people have been telling me, my Uncle Sean as well, they believe that Jadeveon Clowney was offsides on the Harold Landry interception to seal the deal of the game. I say guys line up on the ball very tight all the time. You can actually look at the Miles Jack pass interference play, and before that play, you can see that their D end is across the line as well, but there was no penalty thrown. So it kind of goes both ways. You have to deal with it, take the good with the bad. You can't just get all the penalties, but I will show you this. Here's the Miles Jack interception in real time. And as you can see, Ryan Tannehill, first off, good footwork, gets the ball out to Ferkser, and real quick, like, he's on the ground. The flag comes in. It looks like it could be tight either way. Got it. But here it is in slow motion. Ryan Tannehill throws it. And as you see, Miles Jack is clearly draped his right arm all the way around Ferkser, the tight end, to the point where it looks like he's tackling him. Now, don't get me wrong, Miles Jack is an athletic talent, is a beast, great in pass coverage as well, but it was just so close it could have went either way. Here's a second replay in slow motion, and as you see here, he's literally hugging him all the way down. There's no space at all for him to even to try to make an attempt at the ball as he's dragging him down. And it's almost as if he's tackling him. As you see at the end, he's already on top of him and he has tackled the receiver. So my theory on it is it was close. It could have went either way. I'm always a proponent of let the guys play and go from there. But the referee saw from behind what the referees always see. They see an arm wrapped around a receiver and he says, that's good enough for me. And he throws the flag. It's interference. On top of that, the replay officials inside of 2 minutes get to look at it again. They decided to not even look at it because it wasn't needed to be looked at. It is what it is. Good defensive play. It was tight. But what would have happened? We would have went for it on fourth down. Maybe we kick a long field goal. Who knows? Maybe we punt the ball. Who knows? Have no idea. That said, you lost. Titans are 2-0. And with that recap of the PI against Miles Jack, we can conclude this episode of TitanUp Today. Again, I appreciate you guys for coming out and watching and viewing and coming back as often as you do. If you do like this episode or any other episodes in the past, click that like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. Click that notifications bell, get notified the next time I upload another episode of this show. But before you go, I have one question for you. Why tighten up tomorrow when you can tighten up today?